Something that's not quite talked about a lot is roller coaster soundtracks. I really like them myself, but I kind of wanted to put a perspective into which ones I really like and which ones I hate. And what better way to do that than a tier list, guys? Welcome to my wonderful desktop, guys. We've got some pretty great videos here, including Dua Lipa giving us nothing and everything. That's seriously one of my favorite videos on the internet. If you guys have never done a tier list before, the top one is the one that I really enjoy the most, and then the bottom one is the most damn bad, horrendous ride soundtrack I've ever heard or bared witness to. So anyway, let's get on with it. Also, trigger warning, this video does feature my opinions. If we don't share the same one, that's okay. Let's just try and be civil about this, please. Also, if you wanted to do the tier list for yourself, you can go into the description and click on the link. I've made it public, and then send it to me on Instagram. Even though the theming is a bit hit or miss with Galactica, apart from the portal, which I really enjoy, especially at night, the soundtrack actually goes so hard, and I don't care if you think that's a bad take. It captures the vibe of space while also somehow being a nightclub theme tune. Alton Towers could probably shove a bunch of thuzies into a room and play theme park soundtracks, and it will probably sell out faster than a Taylor Swift concert. Through the Gates is my personal favourite out of the collection of Galactica soundtracks. But each of the tracks are individually great too. To me, I really like it, and it could genuinely be top tier, but because of the other ones I'm about to compare it to, I think that Galactica can sit at a fair some of the best. Just wanted to flex again that the Smiler's at a park where they can't build over the tree height. America, we snoozing or what? I have personal issues with the Smiler soundtrack. I enjoy the fluff around it, the mechanical sounds and the laughter pushing its creepy vibe, but the actual chorus does piss me off slightly. Like, girls really laughing at all of us having a queue, like, get a life. Standing in there for long periods of time does overwhelm me, I have to admit, but that does mean it's doing what it's supposed to. And for those that aren't as sensitive to me, Smiler's in-your-face attitude, I can imagine, is one of your favorites. But for me, even though I would cry if I had to wait 2 hours in it, I'm going to reluctantly put it in I wouldn't cry if I had to wait 2 hours in it. I don't think it's bad. I'm just a girl. Please don't hurt me, guys. I have a 4-minute video on my channel glazing how good of a family coaster this is. You can go watch that if you want to know why in more detail. But to summarise, Vampire is one of my favourites because of the way it perfectly captures the new and old generation of Halloween in one soundtrack. The old soundtrack was good, but I definitely prefer the new one, which might be a hot take. That might be my younger age kicking in.
Dubstep is actually superior, look at me, I'm Marshmallow.
I love the rattle noise as well, just before the soundtrack dubstep bit kicks in. That's a really small detail, but I just really enjoy the way it sounds, and it just gives me happy memories. Say what you want about the actual roller coaster, but the soundtrack, you cannot deny, goes so incredibly, indubitably hard. Who put this on my list? It's not even original. Quasi's kind of hot though, so I guess I can put it up here. It sounds so wet in an unpleasant way. I'm not really sure what to say about it. Also, the girl's voice just makes me laugh. It's so British that it hurts. It sounds like she's trying to invite me out for tea and crumpets, not send me into the forest that I won't come back from. Rollercoaster Restaurant has a better dubstep version, but if that was played in the actual ride station, it would kill the vibe. So I think it does its job, and it's very atmospheric. Way better than Rita's soundtrack, if you can even call that one. Scotland forever! Are you upset yet, girlfriend? I'm sorry, please don't send haggis after me. Wicker Man is very atmospheric, but I think it's heavily carried by its theme, pre-show, and Big Bob, of course. The soundtrack is very unique, and I respect it for that, but it's not one of my favourites. It's quite forgettable, apart from
The Wicker Man is currently experiencing a delay.
But it has a nice Scottish theme to it, and I wouldn't mind waiting in it, so I see that as a win. I always enjoy my time around Mexicana, and to be honest, even though Rattlesnake isn't one of my favourite rides, as I enjoy my spinal cord, its music is actually a pleasant surprise. It's so happy and upbeat, which is a bit of a rare sight at Merlin parks, so that's always a win. I always feel the need to start Irish dancing whenever I come into the area, so I guess that's a good sign. It's very underrated in my opinion. Do 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 do. I'll be so honest, I can't even remember it. The only video online as well is 12 years old, and I know for a fact that isn't what they play right now, so I'm just gonna leave it as forgettable. But the ride is great, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna come out and say it. I kinda like Duplo Dino's soundtrack. Lock me up, call the police, send me to hell, wait. Listen, I'm a sucker for jungle themes and I think it complements the ride really well. It's just very cute. It does get annoying after a bit, but I wouldn't know. I'm too scared to sit in queue for this thrilling attraction. Okay, so hear me out. It's not bad by any means, but it's just never stuck with me. It doesn't get on my nerves, it's just okay. I like it, and I enjoy the fact that it's not a dark soundtrack like usual, but it just gives me flashbacks to when the ride keeps breaking. Hyperia seems very commercial. Does that make sense? It's trying to be the least offensive thing possible and appeal to everybody. I assume this is because they knew people would have to wait longer than the entire duration of Grey's Anatomy. It's giving The Weeknd, and I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing. You decide. This music, the ambience, and the sound effects sell it on its own. The official song for the ride is crazy good. It's on Spotify actually. They don't really use it for the actual area anymore. I'm not really sure why that is. But instead you've probably heard the Swarm Plaza sound effects, which are really good. I really like the ambience of the aeroplane and the helicopter noises and the fire engine and stuff. It might get on people's nerves, but I don't actually mind it that much. But recently they put the TVs back on and I don't know, I don't like it as much because then they're not playing the music or the sound effects. It takes away from it a bit. I prefer the music to people speaking because it just becomes white noise at that point anyway. So because of this, I'm going to be putting it in some of the best. If they get rid of the TV reports, I'll put it where it belongs. Justice for the Swarm, they didn't hurt anyone important. Does this ride even have one? I can't even find it, so it's going in bad. Just, I can't even find it. I don't know what to say. I'm unsure if this is actually ripped straight from the films, but I believe it's an original piece, so I'm going to be judging it that way. It really makes the area as a whole, and you can hear it the whole way around the track because of how exposed the coaster is, and I love that. It's got animal sound effects and a nice upbeat jungle vibed experience, which I am a sucker for, making it one of the best. Another underrated soundtrack for sure. IMAscore really pulled up with a whole ass orchestra. I know a lot of people were concerned when it was confirmed that they would be changing the soundtrack, but honestly, I think it's better than the original, and I might get a lot of hate for that, but I just think it's so full, and the sound effects about the monster really make it come to life. It's just a really great area, and probably one of the best soundtracks in the UK. It's addicting. IMAscore never disappoint, and this is no different. My cochlea has officially ascended twice now. So many great soundtracks next to each other. Maybe I could have organised this a bit better because I'm going to sound like a broken record.
This ride is perfectly safe.
Oblivion, just like Galactica, could unironically be put into a nightclub and I wouldn't notice. It doesn't match the ride at all, but in the best possible way. In a way that makes you less nervous to ride it because it's just so energetic. This is top tier for sure. I'd be stupid not to. Colossus might get a lot of hate for being a ride that's rough, but one thing it doesn't get hated for is its soundtrack. I know people who hate this ride but love the soundtrack, and honestly, it's just so great. The full thing is like 8 minutes long, which is impressive, and it tells a whole story, starting with a slow and steady beat and light tone. It then drops to the iconic da 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 da. The whole of Lost City is actually such a vibe, and I don't care if it's controversial. It's almost euphoric. It then drops into a fast-paced section, crashes out, and then when you think it's done, hold on, there's more. If your soundtrack sounds even remotely similar to the Plants vs Zombies one, you know you've got a great soundtrack on your hands. Finally, it ends with a clangy type of sound, with the trumpets, and it genuinely sounds like the end of a top 10 anime battle. Easiest S of my life.
Keep your head back. Go, go.
I don't really think Rita has a soundtrack, or whatever should count for one, because it's just the Dark Forest ambience. It's so bad, I'm sorry. The area music is good, but this is just a lazy excuse for a lazy coaster. I'm actually not entirely sure if this is shared with Congo River Rapids or if I have the wrong soundtrack, but here we are. I really like how upbeat it is, and it's a nice soundtrack. It fits comfortably in the middle. I actually don't want to hear any excuses for this one, alright? The sound effects for the area are cool, but that's not the sound effect, like that's not a soundtrack, okay? It's a lazy soundtrack. It's just a slightly different version to the one from the movie. I get that's the point, but it's so lazy and I cannot justify it being any higher. Okay, fine. Look, for all of you Saw fans, I'll put it above one more where it should be. I've never actually heard this one as I never experienced it, so it's not nostalgic for me, but it has a good theme tune, and it's quite fun and fitting with Mexicana. I feel sorry for it every day, and it will be rude for me to put it any lower. Rest in peace, Scorpion Express, we all miss you. I like where they were going with it. I enjoy the techno theme, but they could have gone harder with it. The Hall of the Mountain Park carries it, to be honest. I really like this bit though. I don't really think I can give it much higher than the middle. Just to spite my friend who works there, I'm going to be putting this at middle tier. If you're watching this, I hope this soundtrack never leaves you. Anyway, The Dragon has an okay soundtrack. I wouldn't go crazy from it, but the nostalgia for me, and I assume some of you too, it was my first big roller coaster, and I will always remember it. Some of those figures inside the dark section are creepy as fuck. That's some Five Nights at Freddy's nightmare fuel right there. Where's William Afton? Legoland is the perfect place for kids. It just scratches my brain in all the right places. It's always hype when I hear it on the way in, and it's actually my ringtone, believe it or not. So perfect, and I just enjoy all the extra sound effect, boings, and even the didgeridoo. It captures the area perfectly. It's also a jungle theme, so who would have guessed that I like it? I also wanted to say that the fact it includes the steam sound from the volcano itself is a nice detail. And of course it having two different parts, the one that plays on the outside of the station, and the one that plays on the inside. What a tune. Get me 4 of them. S.
'Cause you're ready, the fish is ready, and here we go!
I think the fish is fine, but it's not really anything special. It does complement the area of Amity Cove, but most of the time you hear the generic music from Thorpe Park Radio anyway, so it gets a bit lost. It's a nice family coaster, but I wouldn't be upset if the soundtrack changed. I'm not even gonna try. It's so irrelevant. It doesn't even have one. Why does the train look like it's about to ask me if I have games on my phone? If he had a deck in Clash Royale, it would definitely be Hog Cycle. And for that, banned. D tier, bottom of the list, get him out of my sight, burn. Okay, so post-processing croc here. I've just realised I missed out on Stealth and The Walking Dead the ride, so that's, I apologise. I personally really enjoy Walking Dead. I think its soundtrack has obviously got the same criteria as Saw's. It's not really anything special and it's just kind of there. I do think the ride is really heavily underrated, but the soundtrack isn't really one of the strongest points. So I'm gonna have to put it in the same tier as Saw. It's okay, it's nothing great, but again, it's not very original because of the IP obviously, and yeah, there just are better ones out there. Am I supposed to rate this based off of WWTP radio or like what? Stealth does like kind of have a soundtrack, I guess. Like it's supposed to be a race speedway, so it's not exactly gonna have the most creative thing ever, but it's okay. It's nothing offensive, it's fine, but it's not very memorable, to be honest. I had to search it up before I did this video because I couldn't remember it. It obviously does a great job at being a raceway kind of vibe, but I wouldn't really think it's anyone's favourite. It's great, it catches the vibe of the area, but it's a bit weak, isn't it? Now, this is the exciting bit. To thank you guys for 300 subscribers and just the growth on my social media accounts in general, I wanted to give back to you guys. So I asked you on a YouTube community post and Instagram what your favourite soundtracks were, so I could do a bit of a live reaction or even a roast to them. So I apologise. This is all a joke, so don't take it too seriously. Not everyone can have the right opinion. Has to be Galactica. It's so chill and beautiful all at the same time. You know, I totally get where you're coming from. I just love Galactica's one. I don't even know why. It's just the perfect yin to Nemesis is yang. A lot of you guys said Hyperia, so I'm just gonna answer them all here. Hyperia is a good choice, but I don't know, it just seems a bit commercial, guys. Do you by any chance have the capability to recite It's Everyday Bro? I got a few Nemesis Reborns. Yes, this is definitely a good one. It's just so good. I just cannot. It's just amazing. Theme park aspect says either Hyperia, Nemesis Reborn, Lost City, and WWTP radio. Only good thing about Colossus Hey Now, I banned. Original Nemesis was so good. You know, it was a good soundtrack, but I do think the remastered version is a lot better. The Smiler. Do you by any chance take Heroin? I'm kidding. It's a good soundtrack. I appreciate that. The Coaster Crazy Guy, you had one job. You failed twice. Not Merlin, but Icon theme tune is fab. Icon is Blackpool. And Curse is Dark Ride, please. Quite a few people said Oblivion as well. I really respect that. You guys are extra cool. Swarm is good. When the TVs are off, I agree. The Swarm is top tier. Hyperia's soundtrack made me want to break down like the lift motor. please get a day job. Real life coasters, this is a threat. If I see you on my channel again, I'm gonna absolutely spin your jaw, mate. Original vampire music was legendary. Nemesis Inferno also slaps. I agree with both of those. They are seriously two of my favorite ones. And Nemesis Reborn, of course. Oh my god, that's so funny. Somebody said Lost City, the updated one by I'm a Score. It's so euphoric. I literally used that in my script. You're a real one. I play the Dark Forest soundtrack to fall asleep to. Sleeper hit of Towers. You know, that is so fair. I would get scared and probably scream in the middle of the night, so props to you. As much as it pains me to say it, Galactica, you know, buddy, you've turned to the light side. Good job. Honestly, I agree with Scaredy Cat rides. The Smiler is absolutely genius. I mean, irritating, but genius. I mean, it is. Like, it does what it's supposed to do, so it's like, I guess it's peaked. Either Hyperion or Colossus, I can't choose. I know it's not a coaster, but I also want to put Parkwide 23 FN track. Stop it! I'll take your Colossus vote. I'm gonna scrap the Hyperion one. Welcome to the light side. Haunted House Monster Party. Haunted House Monster Party. Where is the roller coaster track? Galactica or Reborn? You know, just because it's you that said that, those are horrible opinions. No, I'm kidding, they're great. Hex or Colossus? You know, I'm not even gonna get annoyed. I'm just gonna take the Colossus and I'm just gonna go. Thank you. I'm not German. I can't pronounce that. That's not a UK. OG Nemesis. Sorry, Reborn. No, you're so wrong for that. I'm so upset. Do you guys really prefer the original Nemesis? Okay, if I had to pick a coaster, Nemesis original and probs the Swarm. The Swarm is a good choice, but I don't know about the original Nemesis. It was off time in a really obnoxious way. That might be because I'm a drummer and I just cannot stand things that are on time. It was like playing in thirds. Why? Colossus, Hyperion, Nemesis Reborn, and Wicker Man are also banging, to be honest. I agree, 100%. Wicker Man, I'm not too sure on. I'm kind of on the fence, same with Hyperion, but I really think Colossus and Nemesis Reborn are some of the best. Okay, now on to the YouTube community section comment. I think Hyperion is my favorite of the ones listed here, then Nemesis Reborn, and then the Smiler. Hyperion's is just so epic, and it just exaggerates how this coaster just towers over everything else in the UK, and it exaggerates it being a good coaster among all the evil themed ones. On the contrary, Nemesis's epic theme really exaggerates the evil nature of the ride and its power and intensity. Smiler's is just complete and utter insanity. You know, I agree. These are great takes. I like when you guys actually back up what you want to say, because that means that you actually know what you're talking about. I can see obviously where people are coming from with Smiler, but it's just not for me, so. Colossus gives me goosebumps every time. The soundtrack is so good. Let's go. Also, the Oblivion soundtrack goes hard. So true. Nemesis Reborn hits hard. I agree with you totally there, pal. Inferno, Colossus, Hyperion, Wicker Man, or Nemesis are probably my favorites. They are great choices. I mean, I still, again, on the fence of Hyperion. Maybe I just need to ride it more, guys. Nemesis Reborn, 100%. It's so epic. Get your goofy Blackpool Pleasure Beach out of my Merlin UK theme park. For Merlin, definitely vampires. Here we go. You're bringing me back. Okay, I respect that. As much as Hyperion lacks in theming, I'm a Score did an amazing job with its soundtrack. Anytime I'm a Score drops anything, they always do something. Galactica, Wicker Man, or Nemesis Reborn is too hard to choose. You know, it is really difficult. I don't know if I could choose between Inferno, Reborn, and Colossus. I just love them all so much. Nemesis Reborn gives me anxiety, like genuinely, it's weird. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, that's such a shame. It's such a really cool orchestral piece. I'm sorry that you get that because of the opening day. That must have been crazy. So there you guys have it. That's all of your comments read, Instagram and YouTube. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I really owe it to you. I wouldn't have made it to 300 without any of you guys, so I'm really pleased with the continuous support, and I wouldn't be enjoying making videos as much without you guys, so thank you so much. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe and maybe check out some of my other videos, but without further ado, take care, losers. Am I reading that right? Does that say Zodiac? No, not again.
Where the news comes first.
Good morning, Colorado. It's 8:32 a.m. Saturday, August 27th. I'm Angelica Lombardi. Bunny Silkman has the morning off. Let's take a live look now outside. This is courtesy of our over-the-air wireless camera.